All right, today we're jumping into one of the biggest, most talked about prophecies in the entire Bible, the story of Gog and Magog. It's this epic tale, full of invasion, a massive divine intervention, and honestly, a pretty spectacular victory. Now, it can sound super complicated, but I promise you, we're going to break it down and make it crystal clear.
So how in the world do you tackle a prophecy this huge and this ancient? Well, we're going to do it with a simple story, a kind of parable that actually holds the key to understanding all the major players and what goes down. Let's see how this small narrative can unlock the whole thing.
So first, let's set the stage with our story. We'll call it the parable of the plunder. Think of this as our blueprint, okay? It's the simple model that's going to help us get our heads around the much bigger picture of the real prophecy.
Okay, picture this. There's this beautiful vineyard. For years, it was in total ruins, but now it's been brought back to life. The vines are just heavy with fruit, the whole place is prosperous, and the people working there are finally living in peace. They feel safe, they feel secure. It's this perfect picture of restoration.
But you know, that kind of peace, it can attract the wrong kind of attention. Way up in a territory to the north, a really powerful warlord is looking down at this thriving vineyard. And he's not seeing peace, he's seeing an opportunity. He sees all this wealth, and his heart just fills with envy.
And this warlord, he's not coming by himself. He starts rounding up his neighbors, and he forms this huge coalition of greedy opportunists, promising them all a piece of the prize. And together, they create this massive, overwhelming army, ready to just roll over that unsuspecting vineyard. And get this, his motivation is spelled out with just chilling clarity. This isn't about some complex political drama. Nope, it is pure, simple greed. He looks out, and he sees a vulnerable land, a land of unwalled villages, and his goal is singular: to take the stuff, to carry off the plunder.
So the army surrounds this peaceful land. I mean, victory looks like a sure thing. But right at that moment, the true master of the vineyard steps onto the scene. And he doesn't bring an army of his own. He doesn't even need one. His intervention is something else entirely.
Okay, so that's our story. Now for the really cool part. Let's see how that little parable maps directly onto the actual prophecy from the book of Ezekiel. This is where we decode the whole thing and connect every piece to its ancient counterpart.
So here it is, a direct one-to-one connection. That peaceful, restored vineyard, that represents the nation of Israel, living securely in what the Bible calls the latter days. The powerful northern warlord, well, he's a figure named Gog. His greedy neighbors, that's Gog's coalition of nations. And the master of the vineyard, that's God himself. Let's get a little more specific. Who exactly is this Gog? Well, the text describes him as a chief prince, a really powerful leader who comes from the land of Magog, which is located to the north of Israel. He's the main guy, the one who kicks off and leads this whole massive invasion.
And like we said, he's not alone. The prophecy actually names his allies, this whole confederation of ancient nations. From the north, you have areas that we'd associate with modern-day Turkey, places like Meshech, Tubal, and Gomer. And then from the south and the east, you've got Persia, Kush, and Put, which today we think of as places like Iran, Ethiopia, and Libya. They all come together to form an army so huge it's described as covering the land like a cloud.
Okay, now for the climax. You've got this seemingly unstoppable force surrounding Israel. So how are they defeated? Well, just like in our parable, the victory doesn't come from any human army. It comes directly from God in this sudden, absolutely supernatural display of power.
This whole intervention unfolds in 3 devastating steps. First, boom, a massive earthquake shakes the ground itself. Then, total confusion and panic break out, and the invading soldiers actually turn on each other. The text says, every man's sword will be against his brother. And finally, this apocalyptic judgment just rains down from the sky, plague, torrential rain, hailstones, fire, and sulfur.
The scale of this defeat is just staggering. I mean, to give you an idea, the text says it will take the people of Israel 7 full months just to bury the bodies of all the fallen invaders. And the aftermath doesn't even stop there. The invading army leaves behind so much equipment, we're talking spears, shields, bows, that Israel will have enough wood from these weapons to fuel their fires for 7 years. Think about that for a second. The complete destruction of the enemy becomes the source of the nation's energy.
Now, this epic story from Ezekiel, it isn't actually the only time we hear these names. Gog and Magog make one final, really dramatic appearance at the very end of the Bible, in the book of Revelation.
So in Revelation, the names Gog and Magog are used to describe a final worldwide rebellion against God, this one led by Satan himself at the very end of a 1,000-year reign. You see the parallel, right? Just like in Ezekiel, this final rebellion is instantly crushed by fire from heaven. It's like a perfect thematic bookend, showing the exact same pattern: human rebellion met with immediate, divine judgment.
So after all of that, the parable, the invasion, the apocalyptic battle, what's the point? Why does this prophecy even matter? Well, the text itself is actually very, very clear about its purpose.
This is it. This is the crucial line. The entire event is orchestrated so that not just Israel, but all the nations will witness this incredible supernatural victory and finally recognize the power and the sovereignty of God. So the ultimate purpose isn't just destruction, it's revelation.
And that leaves us with one last thought to chew on. This is an ancient prophecy, about a future battle, but its message is pretty timeless. It's a story about protection, about sovereignty, and about a divine purpose playing out. And it really invites us to ask ourselves, what does this ancient story of ultimate victory really mean for us and for the world today?